Right now, somewhere in your home, there is probably an animal that knows the exact sound of your footsteps. Today, you'll walk past it, scratch it behind the ears, maybe murmur something on your way out the door, and think nothing of it. It's the most ordinary moment in the world. But 2 days after a South African conservationist named Lawrence Anthony died of a heart attack in March of 2012, a herd of wild elephants he had rescued years earlier left the deep bush, walked in single file for nearly 12 hours, and gathered outside his house. No one led them there. No one fed them. They simply came, stood in near silence for 2 days, and then went home. And on roughly the same week, every year for years afterward, they came back. So here is the question that should unsettle you a little. The animals you have fed and healed and walked and saved, do they actually remember you? Not react to you? Remember you. The answer changes everything we think we know about memory, gratitude, and love. Let's start with the animal sleeping at your feet because your dog's brain has already answered part of this question. In 2014, a neuroscientist named Gregory Berns at Emory University did something nobody had managed before. He trained dogs to lie perfectly still, awake and unrestrained inside an MRI machine, and then he let them smell things: their own scent, a strange dog, a strange human, and the scent of their owner, collected on a cloth while the owner was nowhere in the room. One region of the brain lit up more than any other, the caudate nucleus. In humans, that's part of the reward system, the same circuitry that flickers when you see someone you love. Out of every smell in the world, the scent of their person didn't just register, it registered as joy. And remember, the owner wasn't even there. The dog was reacting to a memory, but it goes deeper than a pleasant association. In 2015, a team led by Takefumi Kikusui at Asabu University in Japan published a study in the journal Science showing that when a dog and its owner simply look into each other's eyes, both of their brains release oxytocin, the same hormone that floods a new mother when she holds her baby for the first time, and it forms a loop. The dog's gaze raises your oxytocin, which makes you gaze back, which raises the dog's. It is chemically almost indistinguishable from the bond between a parent and a child. So when your dog looks up at you, it is not running a trick it learned for food. It is doing the one thing evolution built it to do: hold on to you. To your dog, you are not a routine. You are a feeling it can find again in the dark. And that feeling does not fade when you do. In 1925, a Japanese professor named Hidesaburo Ueno died suddenly at work and never came home to the Akita dog who waited for him each evening at Shibuya Station in Tokyo. The dog's name was Hachikō. Every single day, at the exact hour the train was due, Hachiko returned to that station and watched the crowd for a man who was never coming back, and he kept coming for 9 years and 9 months until the day he died. The commuters knew him, they fed him. A statue of him still stands on that spot today. 9 years is longer than many people remember the dead. To Hashiko, his person was not gone, his person was late. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Of course, a dog remembers you. We spent 30,000 years breeding dogs to adore us. That's not memory, that's programming. It's a fair objection. So let's throw out every animal we designed to love us and go find one that has every reason to want us gone. Consider the crow. In a now famous experiment, wildlife biologist John Marzluff at the University of Washington sent researchers walking across campus wearing rubber masks, a caveman mask on the people who trapped and banded the local crows, and a different mask on the people who left the birds alone. Every trapped crow was released completely unharmed, but they did not forgive and they did not forget. For years afterward, any crow that spotted the dangerous mask would scream, dive bomb it, and rally a mob of other crows to harass it, including crows that had never been trapped, that had only learned secondhand that this face was a threat. Marzluff measured the grudge lasting at least 2.5 years, and later work suggests some crows remember a dangerous face for as long as 17 years. But here's the part that should stop you: it runs both ways. Crows also remember the humans who are kind to them, and there are documented cases of them leaving little gifts, buttons, and keys and beads of glass on the doorsteps of the people they've decided are friends. And it isn't only the animals with obvious grudges. In 2013, a researcher named Jason Bruck at the University of Chicago played recordings of dolphins' signature whistles, the unique sound each dolphin uses, essentially as its own name, to bottlenose dolphins that had been separated from one another for up to 20 years. The instant they heard the call of an old companion, the dolphins came alive, swimming straight to the underwater speaker and whistling back into the water. 20 years. It's the longest social memory ever measured in any species besides our own, which means recognizing one specific individual and holding on to that one particular soul across decades is not some rare human gift. It is older than we are and far more common than we ever let ourselves believe. Which brings us to the hardest question of all, not whether animals remember, but whether they remember being saved. In 1969, two young men in London bought a lion cub, of all places, from the department store Harrods and named him Christian. When he grew too big for a city flat, they did the only decent thing and released him into the wild in Kenya under the care of the legendary conservationist George Adamson. A year later, they flew back to say a final goodbye, and everyone warned them the lion was fully wild now, that he wouldn't know them and might even attack. The footage still exists. You can watch a grown wild lion freeze, stare, and then come bounding across the grass to throw his paws over the shoulders of the men who raised him, burying his face against their necks like a dog greeting its family. A full year in the wild, and he never forgot who they were. Memory like that can outlast almost anything. When an elephant named Shirley arrived at a sanctuary in Tennessee in 1999, another elephant there named Jenny became frantic, trumpeting, straining, and bending the steel bars of the barn to get to her. The staff were baffled, until they went digging through the records. The two elephants had performed in the same circus together briefly 22 years earlier when Jenny was just a calf. 22 years apart, and they knew each other on sight. They were inseparable from that night until the day Jenny died. And sometimes the memory forms in a single hour. In December of 2005, a 50-ton humpback whale became wrapped in a web of crab lines off the coast of San Francisco, so weighed down by traps that she could barely lift her blowhole to breathe. A team of divers spent an hour in the water sawing at the ropes, knowing that one panicked flick of her tail could kill them instantly. When the last line finally fell away, the whale didn't bolt for open ocean. She swam to each diver one by one and gently nudged him, then moved on to the next and the next. One of them said afterward that it felt unmistakably like being thanked. Here's a small thing worth knowing. The word recognize comes from the Latin recognoscere, and it doesn't mean to see, it means to know again, to know a second time, something you knew before. That is exactly what these animals are doing, not reacting, re-knowing. And if you have ever pulled a shaking, half-starved animal out of a shelter or a gutter or the shoulder of a highway, there is a real chance that somewhere behind those eyes you are filed away, not as a face, but as the moment everything got better. So we spend our lives quietly wondering whether we mattered to them, whether the dog remembers the walks, whether the cat we fed for a decade thought of us as anything more than the hands that opened the can, whether the animal we saved ever really understood what we did for it. But maybe the question has been backwards this whole time. You forget where you left your keys this morning. They remember the scent of the person who saved them across 20 years. You lie awake wondering if you did enough. They decided long ago that you did. You think of love as something you hand down to an animal from above. And the whole time they have been carrying you in a fold of the brain that lights up like joy, in a call they still swim toward, in a house they will walk for 2 days to reach. The animals we save don't just outlive the moment we saved them. They keep it, and somewhere out there tonight, in the dark, something is still holding on to you, in the one place you can never be deleted.